Great, 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 great.
Welcome. Welcome, everyone. As everyone is joining the Zoom, feel free to put in the chat where you're Zooming in from tonight. We're expecting a great audience across any number of time zones. And since our president, Marc C. Connor, is a Pacific Northwest native, if you are a Seahawks fan or you follow any of the teams out there, the Mariners, feel free to put that in. And I see everything from, ooh, it's flashing fast. Uzbekistan, Hoboken.
Ooh,
Wow, we are from all over tonight.
nice.
This is fabulous. Well, we're going to give folks just another minute or so. Ecuador.
Mm,
Wow. Well, we are delighted to have you here with us tonight, and it is such an honor and a privilege to be kicking off this virtual chat and dialogue with Skidmore's president, Marc C. Connor. So we'll let everyone flow into the Zoom and we'll start in just a second or two. But I will share that President Connor will give some remarks of his own tonight. And then we will actually answer some live question using the Q&A feature in the Zoom box. So you can feel free to listen for the first 25 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so, and then we'll be taking live questions in the Q&A. I will also have colleagues who will be answering Q&A questions throughout the night. But who knows, maybe your question will get answered live by President Connor. So I think we've got quite a few folks here in the Zoom. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jessica Ricker. It's my honor and privilege to serve as Dean of Admission and Financial Aid here at Skidmore College. And we're delighted to welcome you tonight for a dialogue with Skidmore's eighth president, Marc C. Connor. And I'm delighted to introduce you to him. President Connor took office in July of 2020 and helped keep our community safe and thriving through the COVID-19 pandemic, all while advancing a clear and compelling vision for the college's future. Most recently, Skidmore's Board of Trustees approved a new 5-year strategic plan, Creative Futures, grounded in the college's core values and inspired by our motto, Creative Thought Matters. The plan reaffirms who we are, the characteristics that define us, and the vision that animates our community, positioning Skidmore to thrive in a rapidly evolving higher ed landscape. And it's an exciting moment for Skidmore, and our community is eager to support President Connor in this plan to bring that vision to life. President Connor is an innovative leader of interdisciplinary academic programs, a longtime advocate for inclusive excellence, and a widely published professor of English, if you can't tell by the books in the background. Dr. Connor joined Skidmore following more than 24 years at Washington and Lee University in Virginia, where he most recently served as provost and chief academic officer. He's published extensively on modern American, African American, and Irish literature, dozens of essays and books, in particular, the Selected Letters of Ralph Ellison, which was named a notable book of 2020 by the New York Times Book Review. And among his fondest learning experiences, and one that Skidmore students particularly treasure, is leading students in Ireland for an immersive study abroad program, which we'll be doing again this May, which is a wonderful example of the kind of engaged global learning that defines Skidmore and what really embodies his presidency here at Skidmore. So, President Connor, we're delighted to have you with us this evening. We're so grateful. And I will turn the Zoom room over to you.
Well, all right. Well, Jess, thank you so much. Thanks to all of your colleagues in admissions and enrollment and financial aid who have done so much to put this evening's program together. And thanks to all of you. We've got 1,000 people out there who have registered for this event, and we've got our early decision students. We got current applicants, deferrals, parents, students of the future. This is extraordinarily exciting to have you all join me this evening, and especially where you're at. You are at what I call a time of discernment. You're trying to discern the right path for your future, and that's enormously exciting. It should be a little nerve-wracking. Things that are worth achieving are also things that should bring some nervousness and some good excited energy. And it's a tough time. I mean, you're the generation that had COVID during middle school, extraordinarily difficult, and moved through the high school period, and now thinking about college in a time of global struggle, a lot of political tension, social tension. And the message I would send to you is do not be discouraged. Be filled with hope about the future that's in front of us. At one of our commencements a few years ago, I cited the great spiritual "Be not afraid," and I think that's a great kind of motto for us to turn to during these tempestuous times. Be not afraid. Be hopeful. Be bold about your future. So I want to talk to you a bit about this great college, Skidmore College, where I'm now in the middle of my 6th year as president. I got here in the summer of 2020, right in the midst of COVID. My wife Barbara and I have 3 sons. Our youngest was just graduating from high school, about to start college. So we went through that whole extraordinarily challenging time, both as a family and as a new president of this great college. Family is of great importance to me. Barbara and I both grew up in the Pacific Northwest, the town of Tacoma. If there's people out there from the Pacific Northwest, I know there are. We spent 24 years in Southwest Virginia, and all 3 of our sons are born and bred Virginians. So we've got great affection for Virginia. And then about 6 years ago, moved to this new world of upstate New York. And I was a typical non-New Yorker. I knew there was Manhattan and something sort of vaguely to the northwest of Manhattan, had no idea the beauty, the history, the diversity of this region between the state capital, the Adirondacks, the culture of Saratoga Springs. I think we live in the greatest college town in the United States, and I'm really excited to get to know this region. And work is important to me. I've been a professor of English my entire career. At my previous school, I was the provost, the chief academic officer. Now I'm the president of a great liberal arts college, and I really see this as, for me, kind of the culmination of my own discernments over the years. Where do I want to go? What do I want to be? What do I want to stand for? Very much what you all are going through kind of at the start of that discerning time. Why did I choose Skidmore? What brought me here? I wanted to be at a great liberal arts college. That's where my whole career has been. This model of education, small class sizes, getting to know your faculty, lots of student opportunities, living on your campus. That's the model that I value. And I wanted to be at a school that was particularly strong in the arts and creativity. So you can imagine when I came across that Skidmore motto, creative thought matters, I literally remember looking up at Barb and saying, listen to this motto. This is the school for me. This is where I want to be. And I wanted a school that was more than an art school. I wanted a school that had programs in business, management, entrepreneurship, economics, finance, all the things that Skidmore boasts. Indeed, we're one of the few liberal arts colleges that also has an array of pre-professional programs like management and business, like entrepreneurship. And I also, as I said, fell in love with this region. So all these things brought me to Skidmore during a really tough time. But you learn about a community during a time of duress. I saw Skidmore during a time of great challenge and watched us emerge through COVID extraordinarily well. We took care of each other. We brought everybody back to campus, even in that fall of 2020. We had over half our courses in person. We found creative ways to keep our mission going. And that certainly spoke to me about this institution. I've continued to teach here at Skidmore. I taught a course on Shakespeare several years ago, and then, as Jess mentioned, I rekindled something I'd done many times in my previous school, a study abroad program to the west of Ireland, where we go with students to study the literature, the history, the mythology, the religion, the landscape of Ireland. And that kind of intensive teaching has certainly been among the most satisfying experiences of my career. My co-professor and I are going to lead that program again this May, the day after commencement. We fly to the west of Ireland with 25 Skidmore students, and off we go. People often ask me, what are Skidmore students like? And my first answer is there are as many kind of Skidmore students as there are Skidmore students. Each is unique in those wonderful creative ways. But I have found there's a common denominator at Skidmore, and that is kindness. There is a kindness to our students, a kindness to our community, the likes of which I haven't seen at any other school of which I've been a part. That's part of what helped us get through the pandemic, part of what has helped us get through the political challenges on college campuses in recent years. At Skidmore, we take care of each other. And I think that's extraordinarily important for the sense of community that we have here. I've seen resilience among our students. I've seen a desire to go out and change the world for the better, which is the very essence of our mission. And I've seen an embrace of opportunity. That is what you want in a college. You want an array of opportunities that you can embrace during your time. That's what you could expect at Skidmore. You can expect to challenge and be challenged at Skidmore College. Oftentimes I'll hear people say, well, am I going to be safe there? I'll talk about safety in a minute. But let me say this. Safety does not mean comfort. Safety does not mean not being challenged by ideas, by perspectives, by points of view, by reality. One thing I always say to our first years at convocation when the academic year starts is, I don't want to be in a community where everyone agrees. I want to be in a community where I'm being challenged, where I'm hearing different perspectives. We learn from difference. This is why diversity is so important to the educational mission. We learn from difference. And this is not something our society is teaching us right now. We live in a time of polarization. We live in a time of echo chambers. We live in a time of a Manichaean world of us versus them. That is the opposite of a liberal arts education. At Skidmore, we embrace otherness. We seek different points of view, and we engage in debate always with civility and respect and that paradigmatic kindness. One of the signature initiatives of my presidency has been speech and expression. We did a whole symposium 2 years ago called Speech and Expression on College Campuses. We've become a national leader in championing freedom of speech, diverse points of view. That I can promise you at Skidmore. You will encounter multiple points of view and be supported in that encounter. I always say to people, we need to have the courage to make mistakes and know that our community will pick us up and support us as we learn from those mistakes. That's how we take care of each other. At a school like Skidmore, you'll have rigorous academics and you will form lifelong friendships. Just this past week, I was in Florida meeting with Skidmore alumni. I met with a woman named Nettie Hoyt, class of 1940. Nettie is 107 years old. And we talked about her experiences as a freshman at Skidmore in the fall of 1936, like they were yesterday, and the friends that she had made that had stayed with her throughout her entire life. That's the kind of experience you have at Skidmore. People will often say, oh, you go to college, you will find yourself. You'll find yourself. Absolutely true. You will learn about yourself in ways you did not imagine. But I also say you will also forge your identity. This is very important. You're not simply at the whim of external forces where you discover who you are. You also make the choices. You embrace the responsibilities that will form the person of your future. You find and you forge at a place like Skidmore. Let me say a few words about our campus. Our college is a little over a century old. Our campus is a little over half a century old. We used to be in downtown Saratoga Springs. Then we built a new campus starting in the late 1960s. It means we have a very contemporary campus intermingled with nature, an eclectic array of beautiful contemporary buildings. Let me tell you about two. The Center for Integrated Sciences. This is our largest building we ever undertook, a 15-year project completed in 2025. A 200,000 square feet of cutting-edge scientific space, 46 research labs, 16 classrooms, 22 teaching labs, 10 science departments, the Idea Lab, an innovative maker space where students and faculty come with immaterial ideas that they put into material form, ranging from 3D printers to sewing machines, to take what's in your mind and render it into something you can feel and touch and manipulate with your hand. This is one of the finest science facilities of all the liberal arts colleges in the country. Over a third of our incoming students say they want to major in a STEM field, and we have the faculty, the staff, and the facilities equal to that desire. It is more than a building. It's a concept of integrated science, exploring the scientific fields not independently or even interdisciplinary, but all of them brought together. That's the way science works in the 21st century. It's the way we teach it at Skidmore. Another great building, the Zankel Music Center. Our music center has Carnegie Hall level acoustics. Here, students do performance. They take master classes. Great artists like Branford Marsalis come and perform. It's a concept of a conservatory level music education available for all students. Most of our music programs, you don't have to be a music major, but you can continue your devotion to music as you major in the fields that you want. Again, a concept of musical education. And a third I'll mention, the Tang Teaching Museum, where material culture is used to understand the human experience. When I first toured the campus, I asked our student tour guide, "Oh, what class did you have at the Tang?" And I thought, well, it'd be like art history, something like that. She said, "Oh, financial accounting." I said, "Wait a minute. Your professor used art to teach financial accounting." She said, "You bet." I said, this is the place for me. I love that. Again, creative thought matters. It pervades every discipline, every aspect of the college. And when you're looking at colleges, I always tell people, make sure you see a crane on that campus. You want to go to a campus where they are building, where they are doing new things, and then ask what they are building. Our last two buildings have been the Center for Integrated Sciences and the McCaffrey-Wegman Tennis and Wellness Center. What a college builds tells you what it values. Cutting-edge science facilities and a $42 million center devoted to student health and wellness. That is the kind of attention and care that you'll see at a place like Skidmore. The Tennis and Wellness Center is also the latest effort of Skidmore to support the student athlete experience. Our brand new baseball field, our new softball field, the hockey training facility on the city rink where Skidmore competes. I am a great believer in the Division III student athlete experience, the last bastion of pure amateur athletics, because athletics teaches students those key principles and values, how to compete, how to work as a team, how to be part of something bigger than yourself, how to sacrifice, how to understand that we learn as much from our failures as we do from our triumphs. These are things that athletes, entrepreneurs, artists all understand, deeply important to the Skidmore experience. Now, the liberal arts education and today's world are of enormous importance. At Skidmore, in our approach to education, we're teaching civic leadership. We're teaching democratic action. As I said earlier, we're helping students learn how to make this world a better place. Now, I'm a humanist. I'm an English professor. I could talk about the ideals of the liberal arts for hours. I will also speak unabashedly about the return on investment of a liberal arts education. Again, Barbara and I have raised three sons. They're all in their 20s. They're all on the other side of the college experience. They all had their own liberal arts college experience. That was great. And I also wanted them to be able to compete in the global marketplace when they graduated. More than just getting a job, but understanding how to thrive in that competitive marketplace. That is what we teach at Skidmore. I want our students, when they graduate, to be able to chart their course in the job marketplace. Our Career Development Center is one of the key elements in our new strategic plan, growing and expanding those opportunities for our students, starting fall term of that first year, getting counseling and support and internships and experiences to help you navigate that marketplace. Because the days when your major leads to a job are really over. Now you are being prepared for jobs we cannot even conceive. They haven't been invented yet. But you will learn how to succeed, how to thrive in that global marketplace. Because at Skidmore, again, we do both the material and the immaterial. Another one of our great slogans is we educate the mind and the hand. As Emerson said, you want to be fit to live as well as to think. And that's something Skidmore is remarkably good at. Our Career Development Center, our alumni networks, our mentoring programs, courses like Management and Business 107, a Harvard MBA case study model of business education that is taken mostly by first year students at Skidmore. And they learn those crucial skills I was talking about before, working in teams, doing something that you can't accomplish by yourself, and so forth. Because this world is changing rapidly. Artificial intelligence is the most spectacular example of rapid technological change. Greater changes are on our horizon. And at Skidmore, we do focus on the future. A year and a half ago, I started the President's Working Group on Artificial Intelligence at Skidmore, bringing together all parts of the institution to look at how this impacts the classroom, how this impacts the student experience, how this impacts enterprise-wide the performance of the college. I want us to embrace the future with confidence, not timidity. I want us to be respectful of the world's challenges, but not intimidated by them. And I want us to master technologies, not be mastered by those technologies. And crucially, how do we enter this world of artificial intelligence without losing our human difference? Indeed, people often say to me, "Oh, aren't you worried about the future of a school like Skidmore with AI?" Not at all, because we do the human essential qualities that artificial intelligence by definition cannot do. So if anything, our mode of education has never been more valuable. I often say there are really three things that a college experience should be. Really, three things. First, you should get a world-class transformative education. And that is what our faculty and our entire institution provide. You should, second, have 4 unforgettable years of experiences and thriving and friendships, years that you will look back on for the rest of your days. And third, it should prepare you for life after college. Those are the things that I see as, if you will, the Skidmore guarantee, our warrant for what we want to provide to our students. It always comes down to our students, the opportunities we provide, the preparation we provide, educating students for lives of leadership, what I like to call lives of consequence. I often say to our students, I don't care what you major in, and I don't care what you do after Skidmore. You could become an attorney or a sculptor, a dancer or an accountant, a dentist or a violinist, or all of the above. What matters is leading that life of consequence, doing what you do with purpose, with commitment, understanding your responsibilities to the civic life, whether that's your neighborhood or your parish or your synagogue or your city or the nation or the globe. You will be a 21st century global citizen operating on the local level, operating on the global level. That's the kind of life of consequence that we want to prepare our students for. It's that impact on the world and changing this world for the better that is the great payoff. So thank you for listening to me for these 20 plus minutes. And now I am so eager to hear your questions and what you would like to hear more about our great college.
Thank you, President Connor. Thank you, thank you. I'm back on. Catch your breath,
Sure.
right? As I regularly say, right? As a former yoga teacher, inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. Well, we have a very busy team that is they're answering a great many questions that are in that are coming through in the Q&A in the chat. But there are many students who are joining us from time zones beyond the United States, international students who are, curious about our supports for international students, and how we, bring them in and make them part of our community, particularly in today, as everyone is navigating
Oh,
today's
yeah.
landscape. Yeah.
Oh, great question to start with, and I so appreciate it. And again, such gratitude to those of you who are joining us from across the globe. This has been one of Skidmore's sort of signature emphases for decades. What we used to call international education, called global education, global perspective, and it's both encountering all elements of the world, but also bringing that world to our campus. And let's talk a bit about what that means for international students. Yeah, let's just say it. This is a really tough time to come here from other countries. The very questions of borders and citizenship are under such pressure and such duress. And we're feeling this across the sector of higher education. If I were to brag about Jessica and her team, I would talk at great length about how much they reach out to our international students at the inquiry stage, at the application stage, at the acceptance stage, and then at that stage of, after discernment, after choosing Skidmore, how to get you to our campus, how to help you navigate this complicated world. We have done everything from, legal counsel, not legal advice, but legal counsel, we've got a number of staff who have spent their careers in global and international education, who mentor students, work with students. We help students when they arrive, if they need to arrive at different times, if there's challenges and travails that they face, even if there are visa challenges, we're there walking that path with you and doing all that we can to help and facilitate that. And then, of course, when our global students arrive, tremendous support on our campus, whether that is student clubs, whether that's the student affairs staff, whether that's the faculty who themselves proudly champion multiple international identities, whether that's the president coming and speaking with our Davis United World Scholar organizations, meeting with the African Heritage Association, whatever the opportunities may be. We're going to keep insisting upon the global identity at Skidmore. We're going to relentlessly continue to support our students at every step of the way. I'm not pretending that it's easy right now, but there's an awful lot one can accomplish with the will and the creative energy that we bring to that at Skidmore. And that's certainly a key part of our commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, President Connor. And I think that could even be summarized in a quick little succinct. One of our international students from Greece, when I had lunch with him this fall, what he said about Skidmore was that Skidmore was like a warm hug, right? Even though he was thousands of miles away, missing, a little bit his family and all of that, right? The supportive community really made a difference in how he was navigating his first semester. So agree with you entirely.
Great example. Yeah.
So the next question, a little bit of a different track, but what sets Skidmore apart from other liberal arts colleges, right? And you certainly have had experience both at Washington and
Mhm.
Lee and at a number of other institutions getting insights. What makes Skidmore so special? What does set us apart?
Yeah. I would say three things. I mean, there's 40 things, but let's do three key things. The first one is the Skidmore curriculum. So as I said, great liberal arts college, all of the arts and sciences. When it comes to the arts, we are preeminent among the liberal arts colleges. And yet we also have one of our biggest majors is management and business. Again, one of the few liberal arts colleges, top liberal arts colleges with a management and business department. Programs like entrepreneurship, economics, arts administration. So we're educating the mind and the hand, preparing students for professional life. That I think is number one. Number two is Saratoga Springs, this remarkable city filled with culture, diversity, opportunity, a safe community. And I said I would talk about safety. I hope one of the questions will provoke that. I'd like to talk more about that. And a community that really embraces the college, which I think is so important. And then the third thing, the kind of community we have built at Skidmore. I talked about kindness. Kindness is not soft. Kindness is not weakness. There's a strength in kindness that you see at Skidmore, a confidence that prepares students for the challenges of this world. That kind of community doesn't get built overnight. It doesn't get built by chance. It takes constant effort and dedication to the mission of the college. So those are the three things that I think are really most distinctive about Skidmore among many others.
I would just add to that, we're a little bit larger than some other
Yes.
small liberal arts
Hmm.
colleges, right? You want small because you want that personalized experience, the relationships with professors and faculty members. And we absolutely offer that. But Saratoga Springs is a little bit bigger. It feels perhaps a little less remote than some other small liberal arts
Oh, yeah.
colleges. But even the first year class of just about 700 students, it means that there's a little bit of a broader array of students and backgrounds and experiences. And I know that that's something that's important to many of the students and families who are here tonight, the best of the small, but a little bit more broad. It's that diversity. It's those things that you were
Yeah.
just talking about.
Yep.
So some eager students are asking what your favorite Shakespeare play is and why.
Love that. Oh, a book question. Thank you. Having a favorite Shakespeare play is probably like having a favorite child. You really shouldn't, or you shouldn't admit it. But my favorite play for years has been Twelfth Night, one of his mature comedies, a play that I fell in love with when I saw it in London when I was on my own study abroad as a junior in college that I've taught, gosh, dozens and dozens of times, and often ask myself why Twelfth Night more than Hamlet, more than Henry IV. I mean, there's so many great plays. Part of it is the invention, the inventiveness of Twelfth Night, where Viola pretends to be a man, is fallen in love with another man who thinks that she's a woman, and you get all this wonderful confusion of self, which is sort of what the college experience is. We get to explore all the different parts of our identity, and then we hope at the end that we both find and forge that identity. It's a kind of microcosm of the college experience. It's also a funny play, but it also has, like all great comedies, the more they veer towards the tragic, the more effective they are as comedies. And Twelfth Night comes very close to death, very close to sadness. With a nudge, it becomes Romeo and Juliet. But it avoids that nudge finally. And then it is such a profoundly human play. And the character of Viola, you could put Viola in any situation and she would talk her way out of it. She would invent a story to find her way out of it. And that wit and that facility and that brilliance that Viola brings, and always with compassion, always caring about others. So I could go on for many hours, but I appreciate that question. Anytime you can get me talking about Shakespeare, it's going to be a great night for me.
Stay tuned next week when we will dissect the soliloquy, out, out, damn spot, right?
Absolutely.
And talk about the
Yes.
tragedies. But I love that. Mine is much ado about nothing. Okay,
Oh, great
so
play.
as
Yeah.
someone who's
Yeah.
seen Skidmore change over the years, what do you hope students will always say they learned about themselves by the time they graduate?
So here's why I love that question so much. That is such a great question. 2 years ago, we finished a 2-year project we called Visions and Values. And for 2 years, we asked every single constituent, students, faculty, alumni, retirees, board, everybody, what is signature about Skidmore? What is most important about Skidmore? What defines us? What are the things, if you took them away, would mean we were no longer Skidmore? And I did that project as a preparation for our new strategic plan. Strategic plan is about the future, what you might change, where you're going in a new direction. That is so important for an institution to thrive. But I wanted to be clear, what are the things that are not going to change? One of my favorite slogans or sayings is, it comes from an Italian novel. If you want things to stay the same, there's got to be some changes. So, in a way, change preserves, just like a true conservatism makes possible the dynamics of change. So, long prelude to my answer to your question, that study showed us the most essential things: creativity, compassion, and community were the three things that came out the most. You take creativity away, Skidmore is no longer Skidmore. That is who we are. Creativity woven into the very fabric of the institution. Compassion, that fundamental kindness, that respect for the person at our shoulder. This, by the way, is how we got through the tremendous challenges of the Middle East conflict over the last several years. We didn't avoid it. We leaned into it. We held forums, we held meetings, discussions, but we had a kindness and respect for one another. so that we respected each other and preserved that sense of community. And those are the things that are fundamental to Skidmore. It's also a kind of zaniness, a kookiness,
Yeah.
a devil may care abandon at Skidmore that I think is liberating and makes possible a greater openness to learning at this institution. Great question, whoever put that one down.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the answer as you're describing sort of the vibe of
The
Skidmore,
vibe.
the
Yeah.
the zaniness. I think some of it is that, as you said, creativity is in our DNA. It is our DNA, but it's got an openness and inclusiveness, and there is fun, right? I think that's the
It's,
other piece of it. There's a fun to Skidmore. While
yep.
students are intellectual, they're studious, but there is fun.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
so
That's got to
speaking
be.
of, studious, serious, um, a student has asked how Skidmore, prepares students for gainful employment,
Hmm.
aka not living in their parents' basements,
Yep. Very
and
important.
gainful employment and life after Skidmore, right?
That too, such a good question for us because that, as I said, is one of the fundamental pillars in our new strategic plan. And what I usually talk about, I tend not to say like job preparation or even career development. I talk about strategic careers preparation. And I like those terms. Strategic because this too is part of your discernment, building the skills, the experiences to start to discern what you're good at, what you love. Hopefully, those things come together, what you enjoy, what you think is a meaningful contribution to the world. Careers, because it's got to be plural. Nobody in this generation, generations to come, is going out and doing one thing for 40 years and then retiring. The average is now 7 jobs, or jobs even kind of take on a different definition. Career is more a river than it is a kind of stop along the way. And then preparation, because as I said before, we are preparing you for every kind of job, every kind of thing you might do. You're almost certainly going to pivot at some point. Might hit age 35 and decide, instead of this, I'm going to do that. I want it to be that you don't have to leave what you were doing before. You take those skills and they're part of what has prepared you for the next thing. Our faculty are behind this. Many of our faculty in their classes will talk about the kinds of careers this can lead to, the kinds of experiences you want to get in order to thrive in the world, helping you set up those crucial internships in the summer that can scaffold your way to that first job out of college. This is part of what what we've done with AI. Here at Skidmore. This past year, we have set up, partnering with LinkedIn Learning, a fundamentals of AI certification that every one of our students can do through the career development department if they so choose. Because I want our students to have both the skills and to be able to demonstrate the facility with this new technology to help them get over that entry level hump that so many students are facing right now on the job market. So those are some of the most fundamental things. But at every step of the 4-year education, we're emphasizing that preparation for life after college without losing the ideals and the beauty for its own sake of a liberal arts education. We ain't a job factory. All right, you're going to do great. The jobs are going to come to you because you get this great education here.
And I think that is what is so special because then, you talk about lives of purpose, but we're helping our students be able to go out and find joy and in the work that they're doing, find purpose, right? And passion. And I think that's where the liberal arts college experience right now is even more vital because that critical thinking, as you noted about, AI, anyone can get a quick answer from AI, but the ability to bring people together across difference, to bring people to consensus, to move an idea forward, right?
Yeah.
Group work, collaborative group work,
Mhm.
and thinking that are such a big part of the Skidmore experience are part of why our students aren't having any difficulty, getting jobs and
Yep.
going off as they graduate. So
Yep. Well, very
yeah,
well put.
yeah.
Completely agree.
So someone has taken you up on your offer. A student from Virginia is asking you to talk a little bit about campus safety and security.
I mean, this has been on my mind since before I was a president. Coming to Skidmore during a time when safety seems so fraught. not just with the COVID pandemic, but remember, summer of 2020, the wake of George Floyd, the wake of Breonna Taylor, this was a time when safety seemed to have taken on a particular urgency. And of course, uh, a month doesn't go by. So often a week doesn't go by without another act of violence, often on or near a college campus. And part of what we do at Skidmore is talk about the causes, the reasons, the culture, the climate of that violence. Where's that coming from? The politics, the history of that. But I think daily, if not hourly, about the safety of this campus. Now, that takes a lot of forms. Safety really depends upon having good practices in place and having a community that is vigilant and takes care of each other. So continuing to cultivate that is so important. There are other things that an institution does. We do have camera technology throughout our campus. It's not surveillance camera, it's camera that has footage where we can go and see what has happened. That in itself is such a powerful deterrent. Law enforcement officials say if people know it's being filmed, they're not going to do the action. We have a superbly trained campus safety department. They're an unarmed campus safety department who are themselves among our best educators. They are really there to support the health and wellness and safety of our students. And students often call them, campus police, I say, they're not police. They're campus safety. They're educators. They're here to help you. Their director, former law enforcement, a number of the officers, former law enforcement. They are in daily contact with local law enforcement in Saratoga Springs, police, sheriff, as well as emergency response. The Saratoga Springs Police Station is literally 2 minutes down Broadway from our campus. Campus is not barred, campus is not gated. That sort of thing would be impossible. But we have our eyes and ears. We're paying close attention to this. We have a robust emergency management plan and an emergency management group that, of course, I sit on, campus safety, dean of students, a number of other leaders on campus. That group meets every semester. We do tabletops, we do trainings, we do scenarios, preparing for that you don't want to think about, but you have to think about on a 21st century college campus. This is an extraordinarily safe campus. Over the last 2 years, we have had one act of violence on our campus, and it was a minor fistfight between two first-year students. That is the only act of violence on our campus. That in itself does not say it feels safe. That's a different sort of thing. That's a very important emotion. Do you feel safe? Do you feel welcome in this community? But very important, this is about as safe a place as one can imagine in this country. That's no guarantee of continued safety. So we are constantly vigilant about the safety. It's the top priority. Barb and I sent 3 kids to college. Parents are trusting us with that than which nothing is more valuable. And I cannot emphasize enough how seriously I and we take that at Skidmore.
Yeah, this is a community we really do take care of each other. Definitely something our students and our staff and faculty appreciate. Question about, can you share some examples about how Skidmore embraces interdisciplinary learning, right? Our sort of do both phrase that many students are seeing in some of our, website stories and things like that.
Well, it's hard to find examples of teaching and learning at Skidmore that are not already interdisciplinary. And this is where, of course, where the liberal arts have gone over the last quarter century. In my own field of English literature, when I teach my courses, for example, history, politics, technology, religion, geography, all of these are being brought in, whether we're doing Shakespeare or the Harlem Renaissance or modern Irish literature. This is true in how we approach the sciences. We've gone beyond interdisciplinarity, where the disciplines are put alongside each other, to the integrated, where the sciences come together and interfuse. So it becomes a little hard to tell where psychology ends and neuroscience begins, where chemistry stops and physics starts. So again, that's what's happening with cutting edge science these days. ways. We have a number of interdisciplinary programs. Our Asian Studies program was just named and endowed by Oscar Tang, who's also endowed the programs at Stanford, for example. So we have a number of these great programs that bring the disciplines together. We're exploring a finance minor that would bring together management and business and economics. But it's more than what you can see in the catalog. It's the kind of wide-ranging intellectual breadth and depth that our faculty bring to their work. You see a lot of this in collaborative and team teaching, like the Ireland course that I teach. We have many examples of our faculty teaching these courses. Two of our faculty in history teach a course simply called The Quest. And it's kind of a medieval history course, but the students don't passively absorb medieval history. They live it, they write it, they go on these quests themselves. They narrate their own journey as they learn their way through the passages of medieval history. So the interdisciplinary is everywhere in the Skidmore education.
That's fabulous. The next question is about your favorite tradition at Skidmore. And I will say I'm going to answer first because my favorite tradition is Skidmania. I am an artist at heart, and Skidmania is Skidmore students, our take on Beatlemania, where students perform songs from 50 years ago. And but they don't just perform the songs, they research the cultural significance, what the artists were trying to convey at the time. And there may or may not have been a guest performance this year from the boss, our boss, President Marc C. Connor, singing Thunder Road from Springsteen, which, brought down the house, of course. But President Connor, what is your favorite Skidmore tradition?
So Skidmania has certainly become one of my favorites, and the music director had been after me for a couple years to participate. I said, "Oh, no, couldn't." But what finally convinced me to do it is how much I love that event and watching our students. Again, Skidmania began in 2020 during COVID. The first time I saw it, they were videos because we had to do it all over Zoom. And I will always associate it with this joy and energy and creativity that, we will have a dozen or more different student bands perform with extraordinary skill in Skidmania. So when Jeremy finally said, well, what we get you to do, and I said, well, let me know when Thunder Road comes around. He smiled. He said, that's this year. You're getting on stage. So that was really my honor to get to lay it all out in the Zankel Music Center with our student and faculty band. There are so many others. It's interesting. Only being a little over a century old, we are a little light on tradition. And sometimes we kind of miss, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have, some of the traditions that older schools have, but it means we're constantly inventing ourselves. And in a way that reinvention, that creative spirit, that changing of things, that kind of becomes our tradition. It becomes our anchor in our identity. Now, the Ultimate Frisbee team is named the Wombats. That goes back to our original mascot before we became the Thoroughbreds. I love going to watch the Ultimate Frisbee team perform. Another great tradition is the Arts Fair in the fall in the Arts Quad. That's where you got music, theater, art, all their buildings together in the Arts Quad. They all come together to just do a celebration of all the different things that are offered in the arts. The annual student art show at the Schick Gallery, absolutely phenomenal. The work that we see there. Big Green Scream every winter. For men's and women's basketball, you go there and everybody comes together to do the green scream and pack the gymnasium to celebrate our fellow students out there on the court. So many of these great traditions, they all have that creativity, that sense of community, and again, the kind of Skidmore wackiness that really is part of what sets us apart from other schools.
Yeah, so many things to love in that regard. Um, Another question has come in, and this one, someone who's really enjoyed learning more from you, President Connor, and actually has asked about whether it's too late to convert their application to early decision, and early decision round two specifically. So I'm going to take this one super quickly and
Please
say the
do.
answer is yes. And also share that the same thing happened last year. A couple of different students who had been exploring Skidmore got to hear you speak and wrote to us afterwards and said, "Is it too late to apply early decision?"
Oh,
So, absolutely, write to the admission at skidmore.edu, and we will get you all set up to convert your application. Because I think it's really important for students to sort of hear from leadership. What is it really like here
sure.
on our
Oh, yeah.
campus? Um, so there's another question. About considering colleges with various financial aid policies. And, some questions about, sort of our commitment to affordability at Skidmore. And I know that
Mm.
falls a little bit under my wheelhouse as Dean of Admission and Financial Aid. But, what would you say, President Connor, about our commitment to making a Skidmore education affordable and possible for families?
Great question. I mean, it's on all of our minds, without question. In higher ed, I mentioned our strategic plan a little earlier, and the key pillars in that. Probably the fundamental commitment is increasing the amount of financial aid that we can provide for all these great students who apply to Skidmore. We meet the full financial need of every student we accept at Skidmore. We meet the full financial need of every student that we accept at Skidmore. And when it comes to loans, indebtedness is such a big part of this conversation. We're well below the national average for those students who take out loans. So we keep that debt to a minimum. Some debt for a college education to me is a very reasonable investment. And the way it pays off over time, having that degree is literally $1 million or more difference in one's financial future. But the kind of six-figure debt that one hears about at other institutions, that does not happen at Skidmore College. When I was interviewing for the Skidmore job, one of the questions I asked was, what would be your number one fundraising priority? I said, need-based financial aid, scholarships, making this education available to everyone who is seeking the challenge. We get applications every year, as Jess knows so well, from remarkable students, and there's never enough money to go as far as we would like. We also do all we can to hold down the cost. There is no fat to trim in Skidmore's budget. We run as lean as we can. Everything goes to the mission. We spend every dollar on our students and on our faculty and our facilities. It is an enormously expensive model of higher education. This is the chamber music model of higher education. Small classes, full professors doing all the teaching, cutting edge facilities that are constantly being upgraded, and all the other supports that students want and expect now, whether that's counseling, mental health, athletics, facilities, etc. We keep the costs as low as we can, but it is a very expensive model. Economists do tell me that adjusted for inflation, it costs less now than it did 25 years ago. Maybe, but we're above 80,000 a year. We being the great liberal arts colleges now, that is a tremendous amount of money. It is worth every penny. I wouldn't be in this work if I didn't think it was. But helping students, helping families see how it is possible and go through the application process and find ways to make it work. That's one of our greatest commitments, and I'm so proud of how much we do in that regard. And it is Jess and her team in financial aid in particular who really make that work possible.
Yeah, I mean, the mission aligned way that Skidmore takes action in everything, whether that is the education of the students, the commitment to affordability and need-based aid to make this education possible, it's certainly one of the things that drew me to work here at Skidmore. Well, another sort of a little bit more of an insight about Saratoga Springs, and they want to know, you mentioned Saratoga Springs is the best college town in the U.S., and I'm not biased at all, but I agree with you. But what do you love most about it, and what makes Saratoga Springs so great for students?
I love that we have two great bookstores right in downtown. I do love that there are 60 restaurants, bars, and clubs. I do love the history of Saratoga Springs, fascinating history going back for centuries. I do love the diversity that is here. Saratoga Springs is a white, wealthy town, and that means that the college brings a lot of the diversity to this community. And that's part of why our relationship with the city and the city's relationship with the college is so important and why I pay such attention to that. I want to make sure our students feel welcome. I want to make sure our community understands how important the college is to that community. At the same time, I try to help people understand how much diversity there is often beneath the surface in Saratoga Springs. We recently partnered with local institutions to do a whole exhibit on the African American presence and history in Saratoga Springs. Fascinating history, very much tied up with the arc of this community. Those are some of the things that I most love. The Saratoga Performing Arts Center, bringing incredible artistry to the area, the Saratoga Battlefield, Albany, the state capital, the capital of New York State, just 30 minutes south of campus. The opportunities that provides and the insights are profound. So those are those are some of the key things, and it's a nice, friendly place. Again, I think some of that comes from the campus, some of it we imbibe from the community.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. Having been here just under 3 years, I still haven't been able to eat my way through Saratoga, right? Or to go to all of the performances. It's tremendous.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
before we close, I think, what advice would you offer the students who are, maybe regular decisions, still making an enrollment decision, and the parents who are here? What would you advise them, President
It,
Connor?
in this time of discernment, it is so subtle. There's so many factors that go into it. You can learn a lot from the websites, of course. That's very important. I think the campus visit is so important, so significant. I urge you to come to our campus in the spring if you possibly can. Get a sense of the feel of the campus. Often it does come down at the end, that decision for which college, it comes down to a kind of feeling. It doesn't mean it's a whim. It's a deeply informed feeling by years of this discernment process, as I've talked about. I do think you want to follow your heart to a certain extent. You want to think it through. It's like the way religious scholars talk about the leap of faith. Have to take a leap of faith at the end to embrace the divine, but you want that leap to be as small as possible, right? Reason your way along that leap as far as you can, then take the leap. I think that's a good way to think about major decisions like this. You can intellect your way through it all you want, but at the end, I think there is a kind of, follow your heart. If your heart doesn't point you to Skidmore, I want you to be at the place where it does. I want you to end up at the right place more than I want you to end up at Skidmore. I want Skidmore to be that right place. I think there's something remarkable happening here, and we're doing so well. We're hitting all of our goals. We've written a new strategic plan. We're embarking on a new campaign. We've got a great leadership team in place. Our climate on campus is so strong and so enforcing. I think there's something really special here. So I urge you to look at us with great care. And if that's where your heart and mind says this is the place for me, I can't wait to have you here. I get these postcards that we send out to our accepted students, and they write me and they say how excited they are to be coming to Skidmore. This student wrote and said, since my first campus visit last summer, I just knew Skidmore felt like home. I'm so grateful to have found such a beautiful community to be a part of, and I can't wait to make the world a better place by learning and growing at Skidmore. Couldn't have written it better myself. I mean, that's just great. So that would be my hope for everyone out there.
Well, thank you, President Connor. And what other president actually, reads postcards from recently admitted students? I mean, I
There are
really
a bunch of
think
them. These are great.
I think you've given us such a window into the authentic world of Skidmore, and how much we hope students will take the time to really discern exactly who we are. We do have a couple opportunities that my colleagues will put into the chat about sessions we have in the next week or so for you to explore a little bit more. Our series on creative thought works, right? How the Skidmore experience leads to what's next. There's one on STEM tomorrow, January 21st.
Mm.
Another student chat, Ask Me Anything, on Thursday, the 22nd. And we actually want to have our students connect to our faculty as well. And so there'll be faculty events on February 3rd and 17th coming up. So thank you all so much for spending some time with us. We hope you see what we think is so special about this community. And I just want to thank you all for being here, and to President Connor for sharing these tremendous
Mm.
insights with all of us tonight. So
Such a
whatever
pleasure.
time zone and place in the world you are, take good care. And we'll look forward to seeing you again at a Skidmore event soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a fabulous
Thanks,
night.
everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.